What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Happy Full Field Read Friday. We're going over the most recent Broncos win against the Chiefs because, we didn't watch that final play of the game. But what's going on? I'm Frankie, Frankie's Film, here for another week. I'm here with my co-host, the wonderful, the genius, Robby Davis. Robby, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Super excited to get into this one. A lot of fun things to talk about on the offense. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's interesting, getting into a Broncos Chiefs game that obviously ended devastatingly, but I'm actually excited to get into it, which is pretty fun. It's kind of cool having these Sean Payton, Andy Reid matchups every year where it's just good football, Obviously, yes, devastating heartbreak. The Kansas City Chiefs are using gypsy magic to pull off the inconceivable. They're going to be sacrificing, they are sacrificing so many goats in that city, or whatever animal is bringing them such luck. The blood magic of whatever, ancient god. He's pulling off work, though. Leo Chenal making an incredible play. I was a huge Leo Chenal fan coming out, too, so I can't lie. Every time I see that dude pop off a little, I think you were a huge Leo Chenal guy, too, right?
Yeah,
it was so funny watching him. He was one of the few linebackers I've ever watched, and I was confused, man, I feel like the league should really like this guy. He's built like a fucking battle tank, and he's just he's so good coming downhill, and he's explosive as shit. And then he fell. I don't remember where exactly he fell to, but I feel like he fell further than I thought he would. Yeah. But yeah, crushing. Where were you? Where were you? Did you watch the final play? How were you? Describe your emotions during that final 15 seconds.
I did. So the play that got him there, Bo Nix steps up. We'll talk about it. Obviously, he steps up and makes what really should have been, to this point in his career, a defining play in his rookie season. To me, it still is, because there's not much that he could have done different on that field goal kick.
They won the game.
Yeah, they won the game. That last kick didn't happen. But man, seeing them come out with a drive like that after having, a pretty lackluster second half, but still being able to put together a final drive like that to what should have, brung the game home. It was pretty fun to watch, and it was very exciting to see Nix kind of take upon that role, and then, heartbreak happened.
Yeah. No, and I think what's so exciting about it, too, is we got to see the Broncos offense, I think, it's obviously they dried up. I'm not trying to pretend they had a fantastic day, but I think we got to see Bo Nix have a good game against an actual, good defense. The Buccaneers defense, this far throughout the season, has not been very good, especially pass defense-wise. They caught the Saints at kind of a lucky time when they were kind of a very down defense. The Raiders game, I think, was probably one of the games he had better statistically. They haven't been a fantastic defense this year. So seeing him get to perform against a team like Kansas City and a defensive coordinator like Spagnuolo, which we'll get into some of the issues he created for this team, I'm very interested to hear your opinions on just some of the questions I've got, because, the center position overall was a big topic this week because of the very bad play that happened at the end. But it's funny, Wattenberg had a good game, but I think we've talked about it before. Honestly, I'll just kind of mention it now. I was curious your opinion. It seemed like they had a lot of struggles picking up a lot of additional interior pressure. And we've talked about it kind of before. It doesn't seem like the communication up front is necessarily where it should be when Wattenberg's in the game. And again, Wattenberg is a day 3 pick from a couple of years ago. So it's not the biggest deal yet. But it is one of those things I kind of want to be it seems like they aren't doing as good of a job just piecing these things out. And I think another part of that, too, is we aren't seeing Bo Nix kind of have a lot of the protection stuff be put on his shoulders yet. I think that's something to watch for in year 2. But I guess I was interested. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you think I'm kind of just – because a lot of the pressures are also just hard as shit to deal with that I don't really I wanted to actually ask an offensive line dude, how do you even fucking do this? But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right to see it the way that you do. There are some definite issues. I think it's one thing to say, okay, they're coming in against the Chiefs this week, and Spagnuolo has some of the most exotic pressure looks, especially when you're talking about interior pressure. They manipulate the back in protection. So it's one thing to go into that game and say, okay, we're kind of gonna give somewhat of a pass, but it's been somewhat of a consistent issue for this offensive line, specifically when Wattenberg is in the game. And not to rag on him or anything like that, but it is something that pops up on tape quite a bit. We have a lot of the times Miners is the one who's given that little nudge from the guard position when to snap the ball. He has a lot on his shoulders to sort out the protection like everybody on the offensive line does, but particularly, you want to have that be the center. You want him to be the quarterback of the offensive line, and it's pretty inconsistent when we're talking about that aspect of the offensive line. So yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty fair to say that thus far.
Yeah, no, and I think it's one of those things too where I mean Wattenberg had a pretty good game. And this isn't me trying to put it all on him. I think this is something the offensive line as a whole needs to figure out. But I mean, again, as I mentioned too, there are just a lot of pressure looks where when you're dealing with Chris Jones and they have a lot of good interior blitzers with guys we're talking about like Leo Chenal, Nick Bolton's a really good interior blitzer. Like they have guys that can really get after in the interior that they just create a lot of issues on third down. We had again, I think what was Bo sacked 2 or 3 times in this game. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'd imagine this was the game that Bo has been sacked the most in the season because they got after him today and they're in this game. And I mean, it's something to kind of keep an eye on because it is a little interesting kind of watching that battle go back and forth because I think I think Forsyth was actually really good as a starter. And again, it's too bad. Like this is not going to be the bashing Alex Forsyth podcast. It's actually kind of interesting because I think just a random little Frank tangent. We've talked so much about how I really enjoyed the usage of Riley Moss on special teams to kind of build up his physicality, I think, and adjust him to the league. I do, like, again, it's one of my tinfoil hat things. I almost wonder if Sean Payton's like, I need to get this fucking center toughened up. I got to get this dude, like, able to deal with these massive humans running at him. Like, I'm sure Alex Forsyth is also, one of the better guys on the team at that position. But it's just one of those things where, like, and again, it bit him in the ass. It's probably something they might want to look to switch up. But it is kind of one of those things that I almost wonder if that's how they're kind of looking to develop Alex Forsyth a little bit. Like, hey, let's get you used to how much you're going to have to be dealing with. Like, yeah, dude, there's going to be times where 2 dudes are crashing into you in the A-gap because that's how look at this game. Literally look at some of the stuff they're sending on third down. So
exactly.
I did kind of have that little nugget in the back of my brain when I was like, man, this is just kind of how I think we've seen Sean Payton use a lot of these guys. Drew Sanders was kind of getting acclimated to the NFL on special teams a lot last year. Riley Moss was a guy. Marvin Mims is a guy. Like, all these guys we kind of watch get drafted and we're all like, where are these guys playing? We see them popping up on special teams. JL Skinner's another guy. And it's pretty exciting then when I think we get to see them come on the field and they're playing fast, free, and hitting the shit out of people because they're not fearful at all. They're adjusted to being on an NFL field. And honestly, and probably some of the scariest, positions to have to do it on, especially when we're talking about the tight end position in the field goal unit where, like, again, dude, watching that replay, like, again, he got absolutely, smoked. Technique wasn't fantastic, but like, Jesus Christ, man, like what are you supposed to do at a certain point when you just got 3 dudes just launching into you?
Right. Yeah. It was pretty rough, man. But I think it's a pretty smart strategy to get some of these guys who are typically, I don't want to say a liability because that seems, like I'm ragging on the guy, but typically a liability in offense or defense. You stick them out on special teams. They're getting those live reps. They're getting used to the physicality. It's a pretty smart strategy. And like you said, we've seen it work out with some of the, bigger pieces of this team.
Yeah. Well, but let's dive into a little bit. We're going to start out with the first, because I mean, dude, this was a good Bo Nix. Oh, whoa, this is a different. We could do this sometimes. Oh God. Oh, I'm fumbling it. There. I don't know where the layout is. I fucked it. All right, we're just gonna do this, I guess, for now. Yeah, interesting Bo Nix game. I mean, we actually got. I gotta fix this. Hold on. We actually got like a lot, like I think better of a look this year of more just like calm Bo Nix. Like, what did you think about how he like handled pressure in the pocket? And I'm gonna see if I can get this fixed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we talked about it so much the last few episodes of Full Field Read, where like he's come so far when he's handling the pressure in the pocket and when he's handling, the initial interior pressure or when he's seeing flashes of color in the pocket. He's doing so much better in those areas and he looks just so much more comfortable passing and, as a passer. And it's so huge for his development because, again, we've talked about it before. A lot of his accuracy issues stem from him being thrown off of his initial throwing base, and he has trouble getting back to a clean throwing base after he's thrown off that initial step. And when he's more confident and comfortable in the pocket in those situations, he can get to that clean base. And when he can get to that clean base, he's a very accurate quarterback.
He was throwing some rips this week too. Like
he was.
It was really fun getting to watch. Like, I mean, we talked about it, privately. Like, it's really fun watching kind of, I think, a lot of the things we comment on kind of come together as the season's gone along. And especially, like, this game, it really felt like we've talked about, like, man, this offense, some of these plays, they all feel so close a lot of the time. And this was one of the weeks where like there's like 4 to 6 plays where you see Bo Nix do some real ass quarterbacking, like hit the top of his drop. He's working to progression 2-2-3, whatever, stepping up into the pocket perfectly in rhythm, throwing a great on target strike with a little bit of zip on it too. Like receivers were making plays this week. It was just a really fun, like, again, getting to see the development this year, getting to watch like rookie quarterback play again. Selfishly, we do this every week, which we do it regardless if it was Jarrett Stidham or not, or Bo Nix. But it's been just so enjoyable, I think, getting to watch the progression this year. And I mean, again, I was a guy a few weeks ago that was like, man, I think we do need to see a little bit more of these strides. And we've really seen them. Like, post that 10-day, I'd wonder to see the stats, but that 10-day bye week they got, that mini bye week was so big, and it'll be so interesting this year. Like that final 4-week stretch they have, they've got the Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. I don't remember exactly what the order is, but those are their final 4 games after their bye week. And I mean, again, the way this season's heading, like they could end up needing 3 of those games for them to make the playoffs. Like, from what we saw after the mini bye week, if this team can go on a 14-day bye week, and again, we see Bo take another step forward with comfort in this offense, we see just the whole thing start to really gel together a little bit more, man. Like, and again, man, like we'll get to it a little later when we talk about the Falcons game, but it's just so hard to watch this offense. And like, I was listening, I forget which podcast it was, but one of the things they said was the sign of a really good offense, even when they don't have the best numbers, is when you can watch their tape and say, man, imagine if like they had this guy here, or like, imagine if like, you put this guy on this route instead. Cause you can really do that with Denver where it's like, man, they're already like decent at moving the ball. Like, again, they're up still like a bottom third, probably like middle of the pack, below average offense, but like, they can move the ball when they're not shooting themselves in the foot, where you start looking at like, man, if you got an actual like guy, some of these open looks that Sean Payton is getting, it can get crazy really quick. But first play I wanted to get into here, the Marvin Mims backfield stuff this week, really exciting. What do you think? What do you think Sean's thinking with some of these Marvin Mims backfield snaps? Is he moving him at a running back, Robbie?
Man, a lot of the things that Sean Payton is doing with Mims, it's pretty interesting and, obviously creative. But we've talked about it a lot on this show where they need a guy who can, take advantage of mismatches. And it was something that we talked about. Well, you brought up, and it was a very good point before we went live, where they don't really have a guy who can do that. And they don't have a guy who can take advantage of those situations. And I think we're seeing a coaching staff who, again, it's a very good coaching staff. And I think this is a concrete, example of that, where they're seeing a guy like Marvin Mims who is struggling with where he can find his wins on the NFL football field, whether it be out wide, in the slot, anywhere. They're struggling to find where he's comfortable. And then they throw him in the backfield where he's working on these, I don't want to say lesser body types, but he's working against more advantageous, matchups. And this was the first week where we're seeing that really materialize on the stat sheet.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's just exciting getting to see them finally have, I think, an ability to kind of have some explosive plays out of the backfield that aren't just like a screen pass, actually having something like, again, this is kind of, just a buck sweep they're running here. They're just getting kind of the pin down from Troutman and having McGlinchey and Wattenberg pull around. And this is one of the things when we talked about McGlinchey's kind of how much of an asset he is in the run game. This is the stuff right here. Like, this is a play that's designed because you have a Mike McGlinchey, because you have a guy that is able to wrap so quickly around this edge. Like, look at how fast Mike McGlinchey is already up here. Like, his job is to get here. This is an easy seal for him to the point where he's able to help on this end before he even gets to the second level here. We've also got our guy, little Jordan Humphrey, making a play. And then we've got Wattenberg with the pancake. But yeah, no, just a really like beautifully executed blocked play. And yeah, this Marvin Mims backfield stuff is really exciting. And like you said, or I mean, like, we've talked about, it just kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse to like, man, if they can have a guy that can run some of these backfield routes, like it's so fun to imagine the idea of Marvin Mims just on some of these angle routes, some of these things we haven't gotten to see a running back run in Denver yet that are staples to a Sean Payton offense. Like, hey, let's really cook these linebackers. And it feels like, I mean, again, we pointed out every single week, Sean Payton has already been beating the hell out of every linebacker core he faces this season. So, and it'll be even a bigger thing this week against Atlanta, who doesn't have a great linebacking core. I think they have Troy Anderson and Caden Ellis, brother of Jonah Ellis. But again, a unit that you can kind of go after with some of the stuff that I think this will actually be the week where we see more of this Marvin Mims stuff. A little bit of that'll be my, you know what? Do you have another bold prediction for this week? You've had back-to-back bold predictions.
You know what? Bo has 5 of them.
You think he's scoring 5 touchdowns?
5
of them.
5.
Fucking beautiful. All right. I think Marvin Mims is scoring a receiving touchdown out of the backfield this week. I think that is a legitimate. I'm gonna stick with it because I really think there's so many opportunities just with the stuff we've been seeing them face, with how they've been kind of create so much conflict with linebackers. And again, like you're starting to see it just have to kind of not have to, but it's starting to materialize a little bit. We'll get to it in this game too, where they haven't really hit a lot of these big shots to the running back out of the backfield. We haven't seen these rail routes or these wheel routes, some of these kind of more big hitting running back plays happen yet. And I think that could be an opportunity where we see a guy like Marvin Mims. Hey, man, maybe we'll kind of run that little mesh concept with the rail up the sideline, and Marvin Mims might be able to bust loose on it because we've got him matched up with Richie Grant or Caden Ellis, who I mentioned, who, it's nothing against those guys, but they are not going to be able to keep up with 4-3 Marvin Mims out of the backfield. Yeah, 100%. Really well executed play here.
And they're obviously polar opposite body types, but I think this offense would be pretty well served to see Mims in sort of like a dollar store version of Deebo Samuel in San Francisco. And we're seeing bits and pieces of it. Like a play like this is something that we've seen in San Francisco with Deebo. Obviously Mims isn't as prolific, after contact or, even really before it. But I think we're seeing they're so close to finding something that they can get their edge on in the offense. Like they don't have something that they can just really just lean on. And with this being the first game where they're really seeing success out of those packages, I think they can really lean on this to go forward for the rest of the season. And I think it could really serve the offense.
One thing I will say that kind of interested me this week, and I mean, I think it's something we've been kind of preaching for all season, but something that was just kind of weird, I think, watching against this team, and they ran a little, I think they ran kind of the one read call. I wanted more QB run game. We've kind of been saying it all season, but especially this week, I feel like again, some of the boxes we saw KC sending out, they're putting a lot of stuff right. Oh, I'm not showing it. They're putting a lot of stuff right on the line of scrimmage, but it's one of those things where if all these guys are rushing uphill, the second level is wide open. If you get an opportunity, again, this is a very separate play, but if you get this opening, this lane can be running wide open here for Bo Nix, where I was just kind of hoping to see a little bit more of the QB draw game that we saw however many weeks ago that was successful both times. This is one of those things where, again, this offense hasn't had a ton of they've had some explosives, but they have not been a consistent down-to-down success rate offense. But one of the things that they've had that has been a consistently successful, generates a lot of EPA for them things, Bo Nix running the goddamn ball. So, just make that a consistent part of your offense. It's been a little, I'm happy Bo Nix has been progressing as a passer. It makes me happy to see that, I think that can be an element of what this offense is. But I also think, you don't buy a Ferrari to drive at 25 miles per hour in the neighborhood, and that probably sounds like I'm calling Bo Nix a Ferrari, but I'll be honest, I fucking am a little bit. The dude has been clocked running over 20 miles an hour this season. We've seen him be an electric scrambler. Let's go. We need to create some rushing offense. We already have one of the better rushing, that is the strong suit of our offense. Let's get it going a little bit. So that was a little thing where Sean, I think, had an excellent game. I was a little let down that we didn't see that a little bit more.
I 100% agree.
But yeah, getting into the second rep here. Was this one a third down? This is a 2nd and 15. Bo, again, great on third downs this week. The entire offense was. I mean, again, he was just so calm executing. And I mean, this is just another example where he's just working through these progressions really well. This was one I was glad to watch. I watched Chase Daniels' breakdown of this game this week because Bo Nix played well. So I get excited to actually watch people talk nice about Bo Nix.
Right.
And this was one that was interesting to watch during the game because I'm sure a lot of people were like, man, why did he take the short option compared to the deeper option in Sutton? But it is one of those that I had to remember, and you've noted on this before. Most of these plays, the way Peyton draws them out is to go from the low to high read, especially on these concepts where, again, it works out perfectly here because Sutton actually lays a hell of a block.
Exactly.
Troutman also had a pretty. Troutman's been putting together some solid weeks back to back here, or like consecutive
He
good
really
weeks.
has.
And to the point where, like, again, this isn't me being like they found their starter, but like Troutman can be the second tight end on this team, and like it's one of those things where again you're hopeful they can find a big upgrade, everywhere. I think we're all kind of being like, oh man, they need to find that missing, weapon X to be able to add to this offense. Sadly, a lot of the times with tight ends, you hope you can find a really great rookie tight end, but rookie tight ends usually take a little bit of time to come along. Brock Bowers and Sam Laportas don't grow on trees. So while I am really excited about some of these tight end prospects they have coming out in the draft, even if they take one, which I really hope they do, we shouldn't expect that guy to have 700 yards next season. That'd be freaking awesome. I'd be super hyped about it. But that can't be the expectation for rookie tight ends coming in, where you probably will end up having a guy like an Adam Troutman be the tight end one on the roster. And you'll see that rookie, especially as we've said, Sean Payton doesn't usually give these young guys ample reps. They're going to have to work their way into the offense. Adam Troutman is probably still going to be on this roster and getting a fair number of snaps, as upsetting as that might be to people. But the last few weeks, he's been a quality blocker and receiving threat.
Yeah, he has. And it's just so huge for this offense that doesn't really have much, many dynamic pieces in the passing game. Like, they really don't. Sutton has been playing great the past few weeks, and he's been a good weapon for a lot of years now, but they really just don't have anybody who can, turn an outlet pass into a 20, 30-yard gain. They don't have that. And to be able to find that from your tight end position, not only is it rare in today's NFL, but it could be so important with the way that teams abuse these heavier formations and the lighter bodies on the field from these base defensive formations.
Yeah. And it's just it was very interesting to see too. This isn't me trying to call them out, but I'm totally going to call them out. They were picking on 13 for the Kansas City all game. I don't know who is this. I'm going to literally call him. So does Kansas City just I know they lost what's his name last year, Snead, but I thought Casey was deep as hell at corner. And now it seems like it's a little bit of a weakness for them, because Denver was kind of able to attack them on the outside. And one thing, again, we'll kind of get to it. Bo was willingly attacking the outside on time in this game, which was something, we've talked about it, where Sutton's been busting corners on these deep outbreaking routes all season long. He has been fucking corners up. But Bo hasn't really been seeing the leverage as quick as he should, where, hey, man, you need to get this out just before he, breaks the route off, because then he might be able to create a big gain off it, because this corner's having to turn around. Where this game, they were kind of giving him those opportunities, and he was taking them. And sadly, they still lost, because that was mad. But yeah, really good play here on the first quarter throw from Bo Nix. And one thing that I'll also say too, it's been really cool seeing how much empty they're running this year, even with the lack of receivers. And that's something next year we can talk about, where again, I think we all kind of expect them to add multiple pieces, add a lot of weapons. It's fun to think about the 5 receiver sets they might be able to have when it's, no offense to these guys, not like Lucas Crow and Troy Franklin. And, again, some of these guys that I'm fine with, but you're probably not we really got to design up 5 targets a game for this guy. If they can kind of get, I think, more of these auxiliary pieces upgraded, we can start seeing some really fun stuff, because Bo has been executing out of empty this year.
Yeah, it goes back to, I want to say it was week 3 where they really started to see an uptick in their empty formations. And it really felt like once they started to utilize those formations, that they found, a comfortable floor of the passing offense that they are okay in living in. And, when you look at these empty formations and you look at the success that they're having relative to the talent that they have, and this isn't to say that these guys are not talented. Obviously, at face value, they're in the NFL. They're very talented. But relative to the rest of the league, this is a wide receiver room that is really lacking across the board. And not just the wide receiver room, but the entire skill position of the offense. And they're still having success, and they're still, being efficient in these empty formations. And I think that's just a nod to not only Nix and the way that he's performing, but the offensive staff as well. They're finding these designs that can get guys open because of the space that empty formations provide. And like you said, if you could just imagine 1 or 2 guys in those formations that, can really raise the floor that they're already seeing, it could be huge for the passing offense.
Yeah, no, really exciting. Right here, we get your guy, your X factor of the season, his first career touchdown. I know you were pumping a fist when you got to see this one. Really good design here on the red zone play too. But yeah, I mean, this is just such a good, like, they've been cooking up. They've been just drawing up some really nice designs to kind of execute space. And I mean, again, this is just where they're just attacking these linebackers so hard. Nick Bolton gets put in such conflict here where you're just kind of like, he has to deal with so much different stuff, and you just get Devon Villay working his way wide open into the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, they really have found some success when they go into their bunch formations and they can work these different switch releases. They can manipulate the different levels that defensive backs and linebackers play at in these bunch formations, and it seems like they really manipulated them this past Sunday against the Chiefs. A lot of their bigger plays came from bunch formations with the switch releases.
Yeah. No, and I watched this one. This was another one I watched get broken down. And it was fun hearing Chase Daniel talk about this one. Apparently, this was one that Joe Lombardi really likes to run in the low red zone area, just because it really, it fucks up with these linebackers so hard, having the running back go in motion. You force this guy to work his way over. You then have this crosser, and then you have a follow like route right here where it's just something's going to work open right here. Or if you have both guys collapse, you end up having the corner out right here to crawl. So again, really well executed by the offense, and exciting getting to see Devon Villay kind of continue to just be a fantastic player. He was a really quality police in this game as well, where just like his ability to make catches outside of his frame and really catch everything is awesome.
It is. It's going on like 5 or 6 weeks in a row now where the guy is making, he makes it look like an easy catch, but he's really sliding out of bounds or he's catching things outside of his frame. And, that's not to knock Nix or his accuracy, but some of these throws that are, far hash outside toward the sideline, Villay is really taking advantage of.
Yeah. And I actually meant to show the footwork on the last one. Maybe we'll go back to it later, but this is another one where like, again, you just see so much more comfort. And like, again, this is one where it seems like Nix is accelerating his drop a little bit because of the pressure that's getting thrown in his face. And it's just such a great play to be able to just 1, 2, 3, get the ball out, Stuff like that is so important to see instead of like, past few weeks, 3 weeks ago, we might've seen him drift a little bit, try to throw off his back foot. And then this ball, might end up throwing into the dirt. We might end up getting it swatted. No, let's put off our back foot, really generate from our lower half into this throw an absolute whip into the arms of Devon Villay. Not that this is like an insanely hard thrown ball, but like, again, able to generate more velocity when you're kind of using your whole body to make a throw like he is right here. And we saw it on the last, and I am going to pull it back up because it is a decent little thing to take a note of, because again, this is stuff that like we've been talking about all season. Like he is able to make these accurate throws and generate some decent velocity when he's able to kind of work his way out. This was one where he was throwing on the move, but I thought this one was really exciting because it looked so much more like the Bo we saw in the preseason and at Oregon, him throwing on the run in this game. And as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, where he's comfortable. He's taking his time with these throws. It doesn't feel like he's rushing them. He's like, again, yes, he's throwing on the run, but he's not throwing on the run with poor mechanics. Like this is one right here where like he's able to step up and just like perfectly like create torque with his hips and just make this little throw right to the chest of Troutman. Again, it's a 10-yard throw, nothing crazy, but like these are plays that he wasn't necessarily making all the time earlier in the season. Seeing him reset, step through, make the read down to this guy, that's good quarterbacking right there. Like those are the plays you need to make down to survive in the NFL.
It is. It really is. And he's not getting as frantic in the pocket as he has to start the season. It's not like he's seeing ghosts like he was to start the season. He's just so much more comfortable there, and we're seeing the bigger plays come as a result of it.
Then here we got the next one. I mean, this is our first. This is the Little Jordan Humphrey redemption play right here. Also, Nate Adkins has been just such a good player for this offense this year. Such a like unsung hero that just like every week it feels like he has a dirty work play where I'm just like, that's why this guy made the roster right away. And it was like, Again, this isn't me trying to like. A lot of people were like, oh, why would they keep two fullbacks? Why would they keep two fullbacks? Nate Adkins gives this offense so much versatility. Again, they don't have a lot of guys that you're being like, man, this guy can really one-on-one create a ton of separation. Having a guy like this that you put him in a 2-on-2 situation And he is such a valuable asset at helping his teammate out, as silly as that might sound. That might sound more like basketball, but having a good screener for plays like this, which are a staple as we've seen throughout the year, like again, not trying to, whoever. Earlier in the season, we were seeing a guy named whose name rhymes with Dreg. He was the guy doing this, and he was getting absolutely nuked by safeties. Having a guy like Adkins who gets just enough here, works his way to have the angle, and then seals it, even getting his way work to the ground and allowing this is basically an untouched, or is it untouched? Does he end up getting it? No, he breaks through a tackle. Whatever. This is a really good play by everybody involved, but this is a huge rep by Nate Adkins and Devon Valet.
I agree. And, it's kind of a blessing and a curse with this tight end room because you have some guys who can be useful in their roles and you have, like tool players in that tight end room. But the issue is that they're seeing, a lot more attention that usually in other teams they would. You wouldn't see many tool players or blocking tight ends get the amount of snaps in the passing game that Troutman and Adkins and all these other guys in the tight end room do because they don't really have that solidified, tight end one. So it's a blessing on one hand because you have so many of these guys who can come out and make plays like you just highlighted Adkins did there, but it's also a curse because you're also asking them to make a lot of plays in the passing game as well.
Yeah, no, and it is one of those things where I love Nate Adkins and Mike Burton, but they also aren't the type of guys where you can once, twice a game drop a play for them and they might give you something explosive. That doesn't necessarily happen with Nate Adkins.
Right.
We watched him let the bomb drop through his hands however many weeks ago from Nate. Yeah, getting into this next one here. This one was really exciting because, again, another thing that we've talked about for weeks, they finally got an explosive out of this jumbo-ass look. I also love that they've been using Matt Hurt as the man zone identifier, having him flip sides every play and play a little bit off tackle as eligible. I think that's just a really fun look. But also Cortland Sutton toasted Trent McDuffie in this game. If he didn't have those drops, because I posted the little cut up of him cooking the dude on 4 reps. Those drops, he cooked his ass too. He just dropped the damn ball. But Cortland, relax, my guy.
Again, he's playing so well, and it sucks because to start the year, it wasn't showing up on the stat sheet. But these last, 3, 4, 5 games, it really has, and he's playing pretty damn well. And we're seeing a lot of it this past Sunday against the Chiefs. And Trent McDuffie is one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, and he just worked them the entire day long. And we're seeing glimpses of what a Denver Broncos offense and Bo Nix can do when there's a reliable weapon and difference maker on the outside.
Mm-hmm. No, and I should point it out as well. So the first touchdown to Valet, that was a 3rd and 5. This one's a 3rd and 2. We pointed out last week, we're going to continue to talk about. Bo Nix in the passing game have been very good on 3rd down. It's one of those things where they're almost a little Chiefs-like, where one of the most frustrating things, at least for me, whenever I watch the Chiefs play against Denver, I feel especially, it doesn't matter what down and distance you get them into. They have the perfect play to get that much yardage +1 every single time. They will run, it's 3rd and 8. We've got our perfect little outbreaker to Kelsey for 9 yards. They do that all game long, and they're a good enough offense where they don't really need all the explosives. They will just stay on schedule and keep punching you in the ribs. Where Denver's kind of getting a little bit of that attribute as well, whereas here, obviously, they're getting a little bit more of the explosive on 3rd down, but where they just seem to have, and this is, I think, a sign of just how well coached and prepared the brain trust of Sean Payton, Joe Lombardi, Pete Carmichael is, where they just seem to have the right call for whatever the situation is. Yes, sometimes it's a little bit boring because it's plays we've watched people run since 6th grade or that they still have in the new Madden,
right.
But it works, and it's stuff that we're seeing Bo get so much more comfortable and confident in. Oh shit, it's 3rd and 15, it's 3rd and 12. For the first time in a very long time, I'm never that worried, no matter the 3rd and down and distance. And that probably sounds like a little overly confident, but I'm generally just okay, Bo's good at it. They're going to try to send blitzes at him. He's good against those. They usually have a decent play drawn up where yes, this game they had the blown pass protection plays on the like crazy blitzes where they're sending like 8 guys, but that hasn't been a consistent theme throughout this year where it just feels pretty good to have a quarterback where, I'm not trying to be like, oh, he's their franchise QB, but I feel pretty confident whenever they come out in third down, and those are the money downs for quarterbacks. So yeah.
100%. We're seeing not only Bo Nix, but we're seeing the coaching staff really get into a groove when we're talking about these gotta have it downs. And they're comfortable. This was a huge thing. And we talked about it going into the preseason. We talked about it when we watched Bo Nix's college tape. They're comfortable living in that pure drop back world now on downs where you have to have it. And that is the one part of the offense that is so tough to access consistently across the league. A lot of these quarterbacks and a lot of these offenses have these different subsets in their offense where it's either play action or a ton of motion or a bunch of eye candy before a play to kind of make it easier on the quarterback. Not a lot of teams want to live in that pure drop back world when they're in their passing offense. And we're seeing lately, this isn't really the best example here because it's under center, play action, heavy personnel, but on a lot of these third downs for the past 3 or 4 weeks or so, they're comfortable living in that pure drop back world. And I think that speaks volumes to the type of strides that Bo Nix is making and where he is as a passer right now in his rookie season.
100%. My brain keeps pulling up random thoughts. Also wanted to note, I remember the first 4 weeks, everybody was like, Sean Payton's play action rate is way too low. This offense, which yes, people were right, but we were always like, it's probably because Bo needs to get more comfortable at this shit, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Guess what? Denver's top 12 in play action right now, or they're like top 15. I was looking at earlier today, like they're one of and I mean, we see it. They feels like they're busting off under center play action chunk game, like 5 times a game at this point, where just wanted to kind of point that out, like patience, guys. Like there was a reason that I think a lot of this stuff will balance out by the end of the year. There's a reason why I'm not too concerned about the year rank or the year-long rankings for Bo Nix right now, because I'm genuinely confident looking at how he's played the last few weeks and the fact that they have a bye week 14. Well, shit, by the end of the year, they could be the 21st passing offense EPA wise. And I know that's probably like, well, that sounds like shit to everybody, but that sounds pretty damn good to me with a rookie quarterback. And, as we've continued to highlight, below average cast of characters around him. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how this all kind of stacks up at the end of the year. But yeah, let's get into this play finally. Matt Perkin, they're going jumbo as hell. We've got 3 tight ends or 2 tight ends, a fullback, whatever you want to say in the game on a 3rd and 2. And this is just, again, beautiful eye manipulation by Nix. What a route by Cortland Sutton to stack on top of Trent McDuffie. This is exactly like that Josh Reynolds route we saw in the Buccaneers game where he just does such a good job getting the outside release, getting on top of the defender. Ooh. And then, just kind of being able to accelerate downfield, give him, completely box him out from the ability to make a play. And then this is just a beautiful ball from Bo Nix.
Yeah, it's one of the rare instances for the offense so far where everybody's making the other person's life easier. Like you said, Sutton comes off the line. He stacks the DB. He makes the throw easy for Nix. Nix gets to his drop back. It's a clean drop back. He makes the throw. Sutton does a great job. The throw would have been open regardless, but Nix does a very good job at holding that middle of the field safety and making the throw that much easier for Sutton, and he just lays it out there. It's like a 30, 40-yard handoff. Everybody's making the other person's life a lot easier, and it's something that we haven't seen consistently in this Broncos offense.
Yeah. And I mean, just again, the footwork's perfect. Watch the eye manipulation. Watch number 20 here. You see, again, he's working this low to high. Adam Troutman's doing a great job of getting himself open in this one-on-one. Again, 13, rough game. 20's, breaking downhill. Oh, shit. Well, now Bo Nix is going to throw this ball over the top in his one-on-one to his guy who's got you beat down the sideline. And we've got a touchdown. And it was at this very moment where, I can't lie, I still thought they were probably going to end up losing the game. They're at 14-3. I was like, this one's not over. But it was pretty exciting to get them watch, oh, shit. This defense is finally going to get the chance to pin their ears back a little bit. And they were getting after him. And I think I sent the numbers in the group chat today. They had 20 pressures against Mahomes. I was lazy and didn't look it up. I wanted to see if that's I'd have to imagine that's one of the most Mahomes has been pressured in the last 5 years. They always have a very good offensive line. And 20 pressures is a fucking lot, especially because I don't know how many dropbacks he really ended the game with either. Like, I mean, I guess it was probably a very pass heavy script for them. I don't know. Whatever. That's a fuck ton of pressure. So pretty cool getting to see the Denver Broncos go up in this situation. Yeah, like we said, I mean, just a very clean execution from this offense on something that we've been begging for them to be able to create chunk plays out of this look all season long. And it's really exciting to get to see it finally happen.
Yeah, 1,000. Let me ask you this: how many, on the touchdowns that we may see Sunday against Atlanta, how many do you think are a result of play action?
Like, probably a couple, like probably 2, 3. Because there's like, again, as we've talked about, like I think the big issue for that Atlanta team is kind of like their interior linebacking core. They're not able to get a lot of pressure. Where I think you are gonna like, I guess, but that'll be kind of interesting because we've seen them kind of use this play. Like right there, they're using play action, I think, to be able to just create a wall for Bo Nix to kind of sit behind. I don't know if they'll necessarily have to do that so much against Atlanta because they have been such a poor defense as far as getting after the quarterback goes. That I almost wonder if we see a little bit more of their empty looks just to spread this team out more. But that is kind of an interesting question. I'd have to kind of look at like how Atlanta struggled against a lot of that stuff because personnel wise, I kind of look at Atlanta and I'm confused how they're so bad against like the run a little bit. And again, they have a really good safety tandem that just, I don't know. It'll be an interesting matchup for sure. What about you? Where do you think it goes?
I really want to come out and say that the offense really just, explodes because of the way they've been trending and the way Atlanta looks defensively. But if I've watched any of the Denver Broncos for the past 6, 7 years, I know it's not that easy. But, listen, it's a new day. It's a new quarterback, new coaching staff, new offensive coaching staff. I think the offense has a very good day, probably their best day of the season.
And I want to highlight as well, I mean, we've talked about this each time he's played him. This is the final game of the Sean Payton NFC South Revenge Tour. Yeah. And it's against the team that he beats the shit out of. 21-9 against the Falcons. I remember when they first signed Sean Payton, I had Falcons fans in the responses being like, this is bad. This is not good. This is not good for us. I don't want this whatsoever. Like, he beats the shit out of that team, and he lets them know it. We saw what he did against Carolina, where he's having J.C. Horn come on the field being like, you're running up the score. He was doing the same type of shit to the Saints when he played against them. He dropped a bomb on Todd Bowles. Like, I tweeted it a few weeks ago. I think he might try, like, there's the chance the offense drops 50 in this game because I don't think he's going to take the foot off the gas at all. And again, like, this team just seems a little bit on the ropes where I'm kind of with you a little bit because, dude, like, he just seems pissed at the NFC South and really wants to kind of make it known, like, he's doing the Aaron Rodgers. He's letting him know he still owns him. Oh, excuse me.
Watching the end of that Carolina game, that might be one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in a Denver Broncos game in a long time.
We were waiting for it. That's exactly the stuff that I was like, nice. Like, I can't wait till Sean does some of those things. Like, there's going to be a few pressers. There's going to be a few post games where there's going to be a few on-field incidents where I laugh. And, like, there's nothing else I can do but be like, nice. Sports are fun. Like, this is sweet. All right. This, I think, might have been, like, when we talk about, like, the on-time, in-rhythm, out-breaking throws, this one, and again, this might have been my favorite Bo Nix rep we've seen, like, in, like, top 3, top 5 for the entire season, and it's not going to look like much. Also a hell of a route from Sutton.
Yeah.
But it's just such a clean, like, hits the top of his drop, really helps Garrett Bowles here. And just, like, just a dime. Ball comes out really accurately. Comes out, like, on a line. Need that. Need more of that. Because, again, he struggled with a lot of this stuff where, like, this is another full, like, this is the play they've run all season where it's like you work 1, 2, 3, I'd assume, correct? Maybe I'm completely wrong, whatever. But I'm pretty sure this is one where he's working Troy Franklin, Devon Vallée over the middle to here. And, again, this is one where all season we've talked about when teams play 3 safeties against Bo Nix, he poops himself. He gets very scared. He does not like it. He's going to check that ball down right away. I actually think it's pretty funny. According to this, I don't know if they're playing all these guys. I think Chamari Connor might be playing nickel corner for them this season. But this is a 3 safety, possibly 4 safety look for Kansas City. And we see Bo Nix execute it well because this is a rotating look. They're coming. Is this third down too? This is 2nd and 9. We see them coming out. They're kind of showing a cover 2 shell. It looks like we're playing man on the outside. Like, this does not look like, oh, we're just going to go play some cover 1 hole. But the play starts. He's staring right at this safety. He sees him rotating to the center of the field. He knows, oh, shit, I'm going to have my one-on-one on the outside. Let me hold this safety, hold this guy over towards the middle. Sutton, again, fantastic route. Hits the back of his foot. Hitch. And just a dot.
That's a damn good rep. That's such a good rep.
Like, fucking, like, there's not much else you gotta say. Like, this is just good ass quarterbacking right here. And this is the stuff where, again, earlier in the season, I think everybody was like, oh, or not. Like, when I was being like, oh, the breaking out of sacks and running around stuff is really cool. But that's not the stuff down to down that's going to win you football games. This is the stuff that you can build an offense around this consistently every day of the goddamn week. And it is really exciting seeing it already happening in week 10 of our rookie quarterbacks campaign. Oh my God, I didn't even notice that on my notes. Guess what? It's a big Broncos passing play. That means Javonte Williams has to have a pass pro rep.
There he is. But we're seeing week to week tangible improvement in Bo Nix's game. And it's so wild because I can't remember, and this is going to sound like I'm praising the hell out of him and, you know, crowning him already. It's not what I'm trying to do, but if it comes off like that, so be it. But I can't remember a rookie season where a quarterback comes out in the first quarter of the season, looks as terrible and uncomfortable as Nix did, come out in the second quarter where you're seeing some improvement, but, you know, he's still not quite where you want him to be, but he's also not as bad as what he started. Then going into that third quarter of the season where you can visibly see things click. You can see parts of his game where in the beginning of the season he was struggling, and now he's seeing these things. And this play is a perfect example of 2 of those things. One of those things was reading the rotation in coverages and reading the leverage of defensive backs. He struggled to start the season when he was reading those defensive backs and knowing where his answers were on the field. It was real rough to start the season, and that's not me knocking him because he's pretty damn good at it right now, but he struggled to know where his answers were when he saw different looks than what he was expecting pre-snap. And not only that, but he wasn't helping himself out or his team out with his footwork. He was, you know, again, we talked about it to start the show and we talk about it almost every week now. He had a lot of issues getting back to a clean base once he was off his initial step. And he had issues getting into a clean drop back. We're not seeing much of any of that now. Since the Saints game, you know, he had those few misses early on as a result of that, a direct result of that, because both of those misses that, you know, went viral around Twitter were him getting off his initial step and not being able to work back to a clean base. And after that, it's like he's been automatic. So again, I can't remember the last time we've seen a rookie quarterback with this much visible improvement.
Shit gets me excited, man. And I think it should also be highlighted. Like, this is in Kansas City, guys. Like, this is a tough matchup on the road. We didn't say it. This is the undefeated fucking Chiefs, reigning 3-time, you know, the goddamn fucking, I hate this team so much. Like, this is a hard-ass matchup. And, like, dude, again, like you said, like, the way his feet are synced up with his throw here, the way he's working through the read, again, eyes are in the perfect spot, seeing where this safety's going, works his pocket so well. He's really helping out his guys here. Like, this gets me so fucking excited, guys. Like, again, like, this is the stuff where, like, it's hard not to be a little bit optimistic when we think about, man, this team has so much opportunity going forward. We really like the coaching staff, and we're seeing this already in 10 weeks. As I said at the beginning of the show, I really think over the offseason, we're going to see him given some of the protection responsibilities from what we've heard. And again, I'm not going to act like I know the guy. Bo is a really smart guy. It sounds like he picks up stuff very quickly based on all reports we've heard from pretty much anybody who's been around him. So the idea of, man, this offensive line is already incredible at this pass protection stuff. Now you might get to put some of that stuff on Bo's shoulders so he can kind of have even more of his hands on the controls, which seems like that's kind of how you want it. We are like a big thing for quarterbacks throughout all, the past 10 years is that year 2 jump. I'm getting excited just thinking about it, guys. Like, we could see some really big shit happen next year. Really big shit. Big shit. I don't know why I said it 3 times. I just kept thinking about that. It was a weird thing to say. But we could see some really cool stuff next year for the Denver Broncos.
We just really desperately need to see them go out and get a dynamic weapon. Honestly, like, I know there are a lot of holes within the offense, but it feels like going out and getting that one weapon can really patch up a lot of those holes.
It's very interesting kind of like thinking about it. Eventually we'll, draft stuff whenever. I'm excited because I've been kind of dabbling a little bit, listening to a little bit more of the draft podcasts as they've been popping up, because for anyone who doesn't know, I do not force myself to endure the torture of college football during the regular season. Horrible, horrible product. But anyways, and it's exciting kind of hearing and this is completely opposite of what you were talking about, but I think they can kind of do a little bit of building on some of their strengths this year. Like, I'm excited to see. I hope, as much as it'll break my heart, I'm very interested to see if they do retain the services of DJ Jones. But if they are unable to, or, he gets priced out, whatever, there are some really interesting interior defensive line options on day 2, day 3 that when we talk about, I think that might be the best coach unit of the team this year. I mean, I think that's probably not even much of an argument, to be completely honest with you. It's really exciting to imagine, just exactly like I wanted them to do with Christian Parker however many years ago, and I want them to do with every time they get a good coaching staff. Freak athletes on day 2 and 3, sign me the hell up. Give me whatever guy is 6'4", 325 from whoever knows it, the fuck state, and he's got a crazy RAS card that I can look at and go, ooh, give me those guys on day 2, day 3, and let's build on a strength. And I think we could see some really exciting stuff where like you said, if they can get really one true difference maker on the offensive side of the ball, and then just keep building up on these things that I think they're already kind of getting a decent baseline for, we can really see just the fruits just start to grow on the branch. I don't know, on the branches. Let's get into the next play. We've got mesh. We're hitting mesh now on 3rd downs.
Man, again, this is not something that we were seeing early on in the season from Bo Nix. Honestly, he was having issues reading out mesh. If you call this play early on in the season, I think he ends up trying to work that crosser to Valet, and I think he throws a pick to it. I really think he does. I don't think he sees that initial hook dropper going into that window to Valet, and I think he throws it straight to him. If not straight to him, I think he leads Valet into a hospital ball. And we're seeing him work these things out and rule out different routes because of the leverage of the defense. And we weren't seeing that to start the season. We were not seeing that. He works the concept. He's in the pocket. He wants to make a play from the pocket. And again, to start the season, a lot of the plays that he was making outside of structure were at the sacrifice of plays that were there for him in structure. This is not an example of that. He works outside of structure because what he was given in structure was not there. He works out, he finds the open guy, and he creates a positive play.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, this is perfect. He's working the triangle raid beautifully, Troutman this is really well defended by Kansas City too. They should be pointed out, they were clearly ready for this mesh call to come their way, except for they didn't end up covering Javonte Williams here. But I do want to point out, and this is something that I ended up asking you and Pat about, this is not necessarily a read in the progression against this coverage where, yes, this is a coverage bust, and in the Madden world, yes, it would be awesome for Bo Nix to work his way to this. But if I remember correctly, you're really only working your way to this if you've got the one-on-one against cover 1 and cover 0, because then you're getting Javonte Williams against this linebacker or this guy. this is actually also just really well designed by Peyton. You've got a little Jordan Humphrey running a post. Like, this is kind of just a little bit of a variation on this, and it just completely pulls in this outside corner, which ends up leading to the coverage bust. So I do kind of want to highlight that before everybody kind of highlights this wide open receiver that he misses, because yes, this would be really cool, but this isn't in the progression here. What is in the progression is you're working what is it? You go Troutman, Volley to Sutton. He does a really good job. This ends up being squeezed down on. Like you said, you got the two guys right here. And then he wants to have this throw to Sutton, which would theoretically be the right decision if this safety wasn't squeezing down on this sit really well. Like, this is a really good job by Sutton to find the open space. But again, this guy does a really good job. And again, we see more of the Bo Nix that, like, it's, again, really fun seeing these, like, little ass things. Like, we talked about it so much in his pre-draft show where I was like, dude, this guy pump fakes all the goddamn time. Yeah. We're going to see that a lot. He pump fakes like 8 times a game. It's funny as shit because he gets everybody. Like, that safety's 8 feet in the air. Now we got him breaking outside the pocket. This is such a good job to keep the play alive, not just immediately, like, kind of scramble through, which he probably could have and gotten himself the first down. But I think it's so much smarter to kind of keep the play alive here and see if you can get a chunk. I think this was still before half. Yeah. So this is with 32 seconds left in the half, too. So, like, yes, running up the middle here and getting 2 yards might be, you know, a decent play if this is midway through the third quarter. But with 30 seconds, I don't know how many timeouts they have here, but I'd imagine they only have 1 or 2. You don't want to just, let me slide down at the 48-yard line right here. You need to try to make something happen here on 3rd and 2 because, honestly, worst case, you're probably going to end up going for it on 4th and 2, like, if you're really that concerned about it. But, hey, let's see if we can make more of a play out towards the sideline with our athleticism. We get this linebacker, secondary player, whatever, biting down. And then just another great extension and catch in traffic by Devon Volley, who just, he on 3rd down has been incredible.
Yeah, he has. And we're seeing more improvement in different areas of Nix's game. He has not been comfortable throwing on the run to his left so far this season. And the past 2 games, I want to say, we're seeing a lot more improvement and comfortability there, working to his left. That was a real issue to his game to start off. And just like a lot of different areas of his game, we're seeing more improvements there. He's squaring his throws. He's getting, his shoulders square to the target when he works out to his left. And again, seeing the improvement that is just so visibly there is part of what makes watching a rookie quarterback fun for a fan base.
This is a tough-ass throw, man.
Very tough.
It is a tough-ass throw. And it's also great seeing him keep 2 hands on the ball. Like, he's just been, like, showing so much maturity and poise in situations like this. But, yeah, man, like, this is such, like, again, it ends up being a 7-yard completion. All completions aren't made equally. This is an impressive 7-yard completion, making this roll to the left. You've got Chris Jones working your way up the left side, too, which Chris Jones was held pretty quiet in this game. Like, he still had a couple Chris Jones reps, which you'd expect. But offensive line did just such an impressive job in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a tough-ass throw. And, again, just a great play by Volley, who has just been so consistent, man. Like, I can't say it enough. His ability to work these kind of, like, these big slot opportunities, work these choice routes, work these quick outbreakers, work these quick slants, and just be so consistent. He creates such consistent separation. He has a really wide base, so his ability to just kind of, like, really break down defenders and read out their leverage and snap either way is just so impressive. And as we've talked about, like, he makes so many catches outside of his frame. Like, again, this one, what is he spinning back for this one and ends up taking a shot and he's still able to just make the easy reception? Like, he makes the tough catches look hard and he just gives Nick such a trusted target, which is just so essential for this team to be able to keep these drives alive.
Yeah, he's a 7th round pick who's really, really carving out a piece of this offense for himself going on into the future.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You're all. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's one of those things too, where, like, we talk about, like, again, I want to see a big weapon added to this offense. I'm not saying he should make it so they can't upgrade to the room, but it is one of those things where we were just talking about it with Patrick before the show went live about the opportunity of them possibly adding, like, a T. Higgins or one of these higher name receivers, and a name that's popped up and is probably going to pop up for Broncos country quite a bit is Chris Godwin. And Chris Godwin's a fantastic big slot option. I love Chris Godwin. He's a fantastic player. He has dealt with injuries a little bit and is on the wrong side of 30. And Chris Godwin would take Devon Volley snaps. And maybe I'm just crazy, but I'm sitting here like, I don't really want to lose Devon Volley snaps. if there's one position I'd like to see, or like, I think there's Z receiver, which is basically Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin right now, who are fine, but I think everyone in the fan base would agree they could use an upgrade on. That is the position to look at if we're really looking at the receiver room, or a guy that can kind of play all over. But I don't think you need to look at a guy that's purely a big slot, because in my mind, I really think they found that guy for the next couple years. Like, that's how confident I feel in him right now,
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it's looking. It
Yeah.
really is.
This was another one. This is a devastating drop by Sutton, but this is just another really good route that I wanted to highlight. And this is a good throw by Nix, too.
Yeah. Working the backside dig route. I can't remember the last time a Broncos quarterback did that. I truly can't.
Would have been such a big play, too. Like, what is this with 9 seconds left? Yeah, this is with 9 seconds left, too. Oh, man.
And as you can see, a lot of the things that were made about Bo Nix's arm going into the draft process, going into his rookie season in the NFL, his throw here, his 35-yard throw, whatever, beats the safety to the point of attack.
Yeah.
Bo Nix's arm, while it's not Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar-esque, it's not the upper echelon of NFL quarterback arms, it's good enough. And I think, in my opinion, it's more than good enough, because he can beat these defenders to these throws, and he could force the ball into these windows before defenders could break on him. So I think it's more than enough.
This is a perfect example for anyone who also lives on the Twitterverse like I do. Dane Brugler and Nate Tice today were talking about Shadur and how he has a B-level arm, and a lot of people were being like, Shadur Sanders doesn't have a B-level arm. Yeah, the B-level arm isn't an insult. Like, a B is fine. Having A means you're like an elite, in that category. Bo Nix has a B-level arm. I'm not gonna ever be like, it's fine. You don't have to limit your offense with a B-level arm. But yeah, man, you're not sitting here being like, all right, you can try throws that other quarterbacks can't because your arm is just so obscenely strong. Nah, man. And that's okay. So I just wanted to kind of like make that little comparison that, yeah, man, there are quarterbacks in the NFL that are very viable as starters that don't have A-level arms. There are a lot of them. And that doesn't make them not viable players, but it's just the way it is, So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, where I think that is a good example of a quarterback. Again, he has a fine arm. He has a, strong arm in some regards, but he's not zipping the ball like Josh Allen or Matt Stafford or these guys that we're saying have A-level arms, like true A-grade arms. But yeah, that one was a little rough because, again, that would have been a 7-point lead going into the half. And as we end up seeing, like, that would have been the ball game, but that's all right. And I mean, what a first half from Bo. It's been pretty cool. What have been your thoughts on kind of Bo being able to flip the script on him having these horrible first halves? So now it feels like he just comes out firing these past 3 weeks.
It's so weird because this game was a pretty good example of that, because like you said, to start the game or to start the season, he would come out super cold and he would finish the game extremely hot. Now he's coming out extremely hot, and the past 2 weeks he's finishing the game pretty cold, with the exception of that final drive last week against the Chiefs, which we will go over. But it's so weird. It really is so weird. If I had to have one, I don't know. I'd probably prefer him to come out and finish the game stronger than, start him stronger, because, you're going to be in the situation to win the game at the end of the game. But it's weird. It really is. But I think it speaks more to the comfort level that we're seeing from him in the offense and within the structure of it, because he's succeeding and he's being efficient in these, opening scripts that we're seeing from Peyton and the offensive staff. So while it may be, a little frustrating to watch, I think it speaks to his comfort level within the offense so far.
Yeah. I mean, I think such a big part of it too, I feel like, at least in the past few weeks, is such a big part of it is obviously on script. You're able to be literally on script, but their running game just dries up so often in these games as it goes on. I mean, they obviously don't really have a true starter right now. We saw Audric Estime kind of be the starting back this week, and he had some exciting looks. But again, I mean, I don't think, at least my takeaway, like, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, Audric Estime is the 3-down back for them for the next few years. Like, I think he will be a decent change of pace, option in this backfield, but they obviously still need like an electric guy. I mean, I was, again, watching Falcons from watching Bijan Robinson in the Falcons offense makes me very not sad, but it makes me very jealous. I'm a jealous
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of think again, where like you watch, Dan Quinn take Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round a year or two ago, however many years ago that was. You think about Sean Payton when he took guys like Mark Ingram or Reggie Bush, or I think Reggie Bush was there when Sean Payton got hired. They're just kind of like, Frank Reynolds, I get it now. I am pilled. Go ahead and do it. I am really like, I trust this coaching staff enough where position value means nothing to me this next year. If you want to take a center in the first round and have Zach Strief turn whatever center into a god, do it. If you want to take a safety and have Jim Leonard turn him into the next great safety, do it. You want to take a running back and have him be the biggest focal point of the offense, do it. I don't give a shit. I trust the coaching staff enough. I really think that we have seen on both sides of the ball, no matter what player you get, whatever their strengths are, they will be put in positions to show off those strengths. I think that's one of the things we've seen this coaching staff be best at, again, at every single level. We do not see guys often get put into situations that they cannot thrive, outside of Adam Troutman getting put into third down situations where he's blocking Chris Jones. And I forget who it was a few weeks ago. Still don't get that one. I will not defend that at all. Don't really understand it. But again, I am completely pilled on don't give a shit. Take him. Take who you want, Sean. I trust you at this point. Go get your playmaker. I don't care what position he plays. But
I completely agree with that. Like 1000% agree with that, because when you have a coaching staff who can, for the most part, maximize just about any player that they're going to draft, I could not give a shit less about positional value. I can't. I just want to watch fun players again. That's all I want. That is literally all I want.
Yeah. And I mean, again, dude, like just for the running backs, whatever conversation, I'm pretty sure if Sean Payton drafts a running back in the first round, that running back's going to see 70 targets minimum. He will be playing wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Yeah. He will not be playing purely running back, because you just look at the type of running back he's drafted at with those high picks. They're not just like bruising backs, guys. Like he's not taking AJ Dillon. He is going to take a guy that does a lot of shit. And that's like pretty cool. So yeah, just wanted to kind of lay that one out there before we get fully into draft scenes. But next rep here, when we talk about more Devon Villay third down magic, getting into the third quarter. And yeah, this is another fun one. So they come out in the 2x2. They motion them over to kind of get the look. And teams have been playing so much man against Denver on these late downs.
Man, Villay is fucking nasty. I'm sorry. Some of these catches outside of his frame, man.
Like he hasn't had the big explosive yardage game yet, so I feel like he won't get the recognition, by the end of the year. But like again, I mean, I think he's had 3 third down conversions just on clips we've watched. I want to say he's had more of them, and it feels like every single week, like this is just what it is. We've also got another. Does this guy actually rush? God, I love watching Javonte just scare off linebackers. Like, hey, guess what, bitch? You saw some film of me. You're not getting past. These dudes see it. Like they're like, yeah, 33. You're going to have a rough time. He's basically playing offensive guard out there.
Man, Villay's playing so well. Like, let's put this in perspective. Villay is playing so well that he made the free access slant that Denver has not been able to hit all year look easy. That's how well he's been playing. Also, McGlinchey taking on Chris Jones here.
Dude, McGlinchey, like, I got a little like annoyed because I was listening. I forget what I was listening to this week, but they were talking about the Broncos offensive line and how like obviously it's been one of the better units this season. And they were like, they don't have their typical offensive line with, a franchise offensive tackle and an all-pro guard. And I was sitting here like, what the fuck? We have like the most expensive tackle room in the league with like Bowles and McGlinchey, all right, but they're like good. And then Quinn Miners should be an all. I was pissed. I was like, yeah. What are we talking about here? Like, this is like a top 3 guard in the league. And, like, again, like, very expensive tackle room. Garrett Bowles is a straight-up very good pass-protecting offensive tackle for the past, like, 5 years. I was very confused hearing that statement. I was like, what are we doing? But they aren't just like, oh, who are these bunch of mid-round no-names? Like, nah, dude, this is, like, one of the most expensive units in the fucking league. Like, This is a $20 million tackle. This is a $20 million guard. This guy costs like $14 million, and this guy costs like $18 million. This is not a cheap unit.
At all.
So, at all. God damn it, Devon Villay, you beautiful bastard.
We
Let's
got to
go,
see him
man.
have one of those like 150-yard, 2 touchdown games. We have to. I will be unbearable
He looks good in
on
the
the sideline
17
if that
too.
happens.
I'm
He
liking the
really does.
17.
He does.
All right, what's the next one we got here? It's really sad though. Again, like we're talking about how like it kind of fell off in the second half. So that was our only clip we have from the third quarter. I have one
Before
clip from the third quarter.
the Sutton, right? The what should have been the game winner.
No, that was it. And then we get to the fourth quarter. That was it. Right. They ran triple slant. They got a conversion. I was like, nice, Devon Villay did it. And then yeah. So do you have any like thoughts on I wrote down the protection issues because I think upcoming here we get the Bo Nix sack here. I'll just show it because again, I'm not trying to blame anybody. Oh, this isn't the exact one I'm looking for, or is it? Is this the one where they run the double interior? Yeah, it is. I'm not an offensive line coach, nor did I play offensive line. Look at me. So I'm not exactly sure how you end up parsing this out. You know, whatever. You're getting shown a lot of stuff here. You're getting the double A gap look. Javante's going to have to pick up one of these guys. I'm sure there's some, you know, pick up most dangerous man, whatever. I'm not going to pretend I know who's wrong here. But this was just one of the examples where I thought to myself, like, man, I do feel like there is a little bit of lack in communication in the protection plans. Like, I do feel like there just needs to be either Bo or the center needs to be kind of communicating here just a little bit better. Because again, this is back. There was another third down like this one. This is a 3rd and 11 where like these are kind of got to have it situations. They're at the they're across midfield here. These are the situations where you need to make sure you're right. And like you're facing Steve Spagnuolo, man. You know he's going to be sending you exotic shit on 3rd down where I just was a little bit like, man, I do feel a little bit like we didn't see these issues as consistently with Forsyth.
Yeah. Was it the Bo Nix sack? I didn't mean to cut you off. Was it the Bo Nix
I don't have the fucking ball. All right. We're going to look at it one more time.
It really is just so hard when you get into some of these Spagnuolo pressure looks to like give out blame and try to, you know, figure out who was wrong and who should have picked up who. Spagnuolo makes it so tough. He's going to throw so many guys at that poor running back. You know, as good as Javante's been, you know, probably the best pass protecting running back in the NFL. Even there was nothing he could do here. You got to, you know, pick up the nearest threat. Either one would have had a free reign at the quarterback. So it's just so tough when you go up against Steve Spagnuolo because he's going to make that running back wrong in pass protection no matter what. No matter how good he is, no matter how prolific he is, how smart he is going to make that running back wrong. And as a result of it, one of those DBs is going to get a free hit at the quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a situation where, again, they're sending 7 against 6. Like, you're going to get a free runner. Walter Jones is not making the block on both of these guys screaming through the A-gap. So, like, right. But, and again, it's just one of those things where they clearly didn't have, like, just a thing, you know, schemed up for this exact situation, and it ended up biting them in the game. And it just is kind of one of those things where I hope going into next season, I do think that's kind of one of those things to keep an eye on. I am kind of still on the board where I would love if, like, you know, there aren't a lot of super high-level free agents this offseason. I wouldn't hate with if some of their money, they said, hey, let's make, like, a true upgrade at center. It's not me trying to beat up on Forsyth or Wattenberg, who I do think have potential in the league. I don't think, like, they're bad, but they are players that can be upgraded on. Yeah. And I do think, man, you put just, like, a true veteran, like Ryan Kelly, I know is an upcoming free agent. I haven't watched Ryan Kelly, much this year, but, I mean, I've known Ryan, like, you know, he's been a good player in the NFL for the past however many years, the past like decade. It feels like he's been a quality player next to Quentin Nelson on that Colts front that's been a veteran unit for a long time. You slap a guy like him in there, it probably makes Bo's life so much easier going into year 2 and probably just makes it such a more cohesive unit that is something that I guess I'm a little bit interested to see if they can make a move like that going into year 2.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it can, you know, streamline a lot of the issues that they're seeing with the protection up front and really just make the life easier of a lot of guys on offense and not only just Nix, but it can really just raise the floor of that offensive passing game in a lot of different ways. And it'll take some of the stress off of, you know, guys like Quinn Miners who are having to do a lot more than typically guards would in the pass protection game, you know, nudging the center to when to snap the ball, things like that.
Yeah. All right, final play here. What should have been the game winner? A really nice final drive here from Bo Nix. Like, I mean, again, we've seen it so much throughout the season when he gets in these 2-minute opportunities. And I mean, again, I think you got to credit the coaching staff. Obviously, 2-minute drill is something that, offenses and coaches drill into players to be able to do. But like, they've been executing these time after time all season long. I mean, we just went back to the play in the first half where Bo should have had the massive completion on the dig route to Sutton. That would have gotten them the field goal there. Here they obviously and again, guys, this is like perfect. Like there are no notes that Sean Payton, he should have gone for a touchdown, which is the weirdest conclusion to come to. I saw people being like, he shouldn't have moved it to the right hash. Guys, he asked the kicker. Like, that's how you do that. He clearly was like, hey, Will, how do you want to kick this? And Will was like, put it on the right hash.
Right.
And I hook this left. It's easier than having it straight down the middle. Like, I feel like people don't put any like thought or like, why did you do that into these things? Like, he didn't just do it for the fuck of it. He wasn't like, let's try it from the right side.
Right.
Time. Like, yes, I get it ended up not working. It blew up in his face, but we don't have to captain hindsight and be like, he should have known that the right side was going to get absolutely like, yes, there was some film of them getting fucking splattered on that side. But there's also probably a lot of film throughout Will Lutz's career being like, yeah, this guy kicks better from the right and hooks left. So
exactly.
Just wanted to highlight that as well, that the end of game coaching-wise and honestly execution-wise up until one very, very catastrophic event was perfect. It was beautiful to see. Like, this was one of the most exciting ends to a Broncos games I can remember in a very long time, purely because, like, it was one of those, like, my heart was in my fucking mouth. My stomach was where my heart was supposed to be. I feel like I didn't say that metaphor properly. But they just kept fucking doing good things. They kept making stops. They kept getting first downs. They had this play come up where, like, what is this? This is a 3rd and 6. Where, again, like, they're showing heat. This is another one where they're showing a lot of stuff in the A gap. They were able to pick it up this time. Oh, it should have been. It should have been. Look at how hyped the boys are.
This should have been. This was the game winner.
They'll get him next time.
This was the game winner. There was no block kick after this.
They know. I mean, that's the thing. Kansas City fucking knows, dude. Like, I don't care. I don't care if they're not enough. I listened to that New Heights podcast where Travis Kelce was on the sideline telling himself, like, it's only one loss. Whatever. We'll bounce back. I know his ass knows that Bo Nix walked into his motherfucking house in front of his goddamn girlfriend and beat their ass on a final drive. But fucking Leo Chanel.
Man. I said it. I can't remember if it was at the beginning of the game or if I told you before we went live, but this should have been a defining moment in Bo Nix's. College, we all talk about a Heisman moment. This would have been Nix's Heisman moment in the NFL in his rookie season, going on the road against the 9-0 Kansas City Chiefs, coming out and making a play like this on a game-winning drive, which it would have been his first game-winning drive, right? They don't have a game-winning drive yet this season. I mean, it sucks, man. It really sucks. It was terrible because this is such a good play. Honestly,
Cooks McDuffie so funny. Like, we were talking earlier in this about how sometimes the receivers weren't doing the best job of getting off the line. Bro, his releases in this one against press coverage. Oh my God, Sutton. Like that's the thing. Like, Sutton's game has evolved so much throughout his career, and it's been like, I will be the first one to complain that, like, man, where did Rack Sutton go? You used to be DK Metcalf just running over dudes out there. But his ability, like we talk about it as like of pure like vertical separator, sacrificial X. Let me get off the line, beat press coverage. Let me, if you're playing off coverage, get you on your fucking heels and hit a comeback route. Like, he's fucking nice with it. He has been, and like, I mean, really props to him and his like ability to kind of evolve as a player to kind of like how I think the league, and honestly, again, he's had a dozen offensive coordinators at this point. So he's had to do however many different things throughout his career. Watching Courtland Sutton just evolve is so fucking cool. And I mean, again, this was probably some of the best route running I've seen from him in his entire career. And he was doing it on a lot of different routes. Like, again, just bust Trent McDuffie here.
Yeah, it was just one of those complete games from Sutton that to start his career, I don't want to say this because I don't want to make it seem like he's been bad, because he really hasn't been bad. But it's one of those complete games that he started his career having pretty consistently. Like every other game, he was having one of these complete games where it wasn't just a deep, a deep ball showcase. He was winning inside the 20s. He was winning in the middle of the field. He was winning at the top of his routes. It was one of those games where we have seen it, but it hasn't been this, apparent. It hasn't been this prolific as it was against Kansas City. Like, he just abused McDuffie the entire game.
Valet he cooked this guy too. Look at this. Look at this defender trying to get hands on Valet here. This is a little nasty release too. Oh no. I have the note right here. I wrote fucking Sutton Valet low key nice. Like it's a little bit of a tandem going. Like I see it. I'm like, oh shit. Like you can do some fun interchangeable stuff with these two guys, man. Like,
right.
Oh man,
it's tough.
I've got some other funny notes now. I feel like I have to comment. So Javonte benched. Do you think Javonte is still going to see opportunities throughout the season? Because I don't think he was like fully benched. I think.
Yeah, no, I think he'll still see his opportunities. Estime took a lot of the carries this game, but if you really go back and you watch, not even the tape, even if you just watch the condensed replay of the game where Estime saw the bulk of the carries, he was running back one in terms of carries, but in a lot of those crucial gotta have it passing downs, it was still Javonte. Given it was Estime on this play, which should have been the game winning play. So I will give credit there, but on a lot of those crucial third down, gotta have it passing situations, it was still Javonte. So he's gonna have situations just off those plays alone. And I still think Peyton's gonna find a way to give Williams the rock in a lot of these running situations. So I don't think he was benched as much. It was just, let's see what we have in Estime.
No, 100%. I think it's just kind of putting guys in the right situation to succeed. I think and again, you just need to kind of battering ram this team, I think, based on kind of how they were playing a lot. Like they were putting a lot of stuff on the defensive line, but they just played so many DBs in the secondary that I think having a bigger body like Estime, as we saw early in the game, it was too bad. Like, again, we talked about how the running game kind of dried up. Like, early on in those first few series, Estime was popping off like 6-yard carry, 8-yard carry, 6-yard carry, 10-yard carry. And then in the second half, it was like 1-yard carry, 1-yard carry. Yeah. And that's such an inversion of what you'd expect for a back like Estime, who's just this massive body that you'd expect as the game goes on. Guys get tireder, guys are taking hits. They're not going to want to get run over by this 225-pound running back. But we haven't really kind of seen that yet. That I do kind of, it seemed like the past few weeks, the formula that they'd really wanted was almost to go like how the Ravens kind of used Derrick Henry, where, hey, let's use Javonte and the passing game to get us a lead. And then once we get into like second half, fourth quarter area, we're going to start using Audric Estime to really just kind of close the game out. He'll be our closing pitcher and we'll kind of move on to the next week. So that was kind of interesting, I think, to just kind of see him given like the early down work or the early game work and see it be effective, honestly. And then, don't cut Alex Forsyth. I know there are a lot of people being like, cut Alex Forsyth. Guys, Alex Forsyth is fine. He's a 7th round pick as a rookie. Let's give the guy. I feel like we mentioned it every single week. And again, like we were a little, not a little, but like, we were critical of Bo Nix, obviously. But again, like he is a rookie. All these guys are rookie players. I will continue to say it about Troy Franklin, Audric Estime, Alex Forsyth. These guys are fucking rookies. Give them time. Yes, they're going to have brutal errors or whatever throughout their career. That's how they're going to learn from these things. That's how they're going to kind of develop. But the answer is to Alex Forsyth is not to just like fucking get rid of him. I think that would send a really bad sign to the locker room if you take a guy who's been preparing so hard throughout the season and is playing again a role that is just you're going to get absolutely blasted in the face however many times. Like Alex Forsyth has to fucking hate when they score touchdowns. He has to he's like, fuck. Can we go for 2? Like, I'm not trying to go out there, coach. And they're like, no, you got to get your ass in there. Who knows how many they're sending at you this time? They've got tape too, buddy. Like, so I just wanted to kind of highlight that where we don't got to cut dudes just because they make a lone error in their rookie season. And again, in a rookie season that, as we've highlighted, has been pretty good for Alex Forsyth outside of the special teams guffaws.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we're talking about that last play in a vacuum, if we're going to indict anybody, in my opinion, for as good as that staff has been, I think that final play is more an indictment on the special team staff more than Forsyth, because we saw that be a consistent issue even throughout just that game with Forsyth in that specific role. And the special team staff didn't think to, swap them out or come out with a different look. There were signs leading up to that final play that should have been seen and should have been fixed. And also, I want to say, I think I can speak for all of Let's Talk Broncos and all of the Denver Broncos fan base that I hope Mike Westhoff is all right. I hope he enjoys retirement. I hope everything is, perfectly fine with him, because he's the GOAT, man. He really is. He's so valuable to that special team staff. I think he follows all of us on Twitter. It must be real hard to go from, going on Twitter and seeing all these football takes, and then you see me and Frankie talking about Young Thug and Playboy Cardi.
Exactly,
the
right.
age of 77.
He has no idea what's going on out here. No, I'm glad you pointed out, because it really is true. Like, he had such a quick turnaround for what this unit was for like a decade straight. It seemed like, where again we just had coordinator after coordinator, the Tom McMahons of the world. We're just like, this team was already shooting themselves in the foot, but then it'd be like late in the game and they'd give up like a massive punt return, and that would be just like all right, I got to turn this game off. This is actually not good for my mental health. Or like, now the fact that like they are consistently one of the best punt coverage units. I talk endlessly about the guys they have on that unit that have made names for themselves on this roster, like Trayvon Smith. That yeah, man, all the best to Mike Westhoff. I'm excited to get to see like some of the like why can't I think of it? So Ben Kotwika is like the new official guy. They also have Chris Banjo, I think, was a guy they had as like an associate. Especially, they have like this is one of my favorite things about Sean Payton's staff. I also think it's hilarious. They have like 5 guys at each position. Like, they have like 3 offensive coordinators right now. They have like 3 defensive coordinators and like 3 special teams coordinators. I fucking love it. It's really cool. I'm totally cool with it. I just think it is hilarious, because as soon as Mike Westhoff left, I was like, I didn't even have to think like, oh no, who's going to be the special? It's like, well, they already have 2 others. So like, he can probably still FaceTime in meetings if he needs to. Like, oh, what's up, Mike? You got in the group chat. Like, it's good to go. Any thoughts before the Falcons game?
We talk so much about it, and I think we're finally seeing it start to come into fruition, but this offense is so damn close to being what we thought they would be, with the kind of floor raiser archetype that Bo Nix is at quarterback. They are so damn close to being an efficient passing offense. They're so close to being able to, in those gotta have it passing downs and those true drop back snaps, to being an efficient passing offense, in a passing offense where you can say, you're confident every time you watch your quarterback take a drop back that it's going to be a positive play. And if it's not a positive play, it won't be a negative play. And we're seeing that with Bo Nix. He has one of the lowest turnover-worthy play rates in the NFL among starting quarterbacks. Actually, do not quote me on this, but I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, also at big-time throw rate. A lot of the explosive play rates, all those numbers are up, and his turnover-worthy play rate is down. So he's being safe with the football. You can count on him when he takes a drop back that it's not going to be some disastrous negative play like it was to start the season, weeks 1 through 3. And they're so close to finally being able to, their floor is comfortable enough to where their defense can really start to win games, and they're so damn close to it. I said it to start the episode. My bold prediction is Nix has 5 total touchdowns. They're so close. I just think the offense has probably their best day this season against the Falcons Sunday.
I think we might see our guy Cody Barton have a game. Bijan Robinson is like top 4 in running back targets, I want to say. Bijan Robinson is also fucking incredible. Disgusting player to have to cover. So Cody Barton might end up getting absolutely embarrassed. I'm gonna literally be the guy that's like, I didn't say shit. Like, I don't know. Like, but also at the same, like, it won't really be Cody's fault because Bijan is that good. But I really do think like this is gonna be one of those weeks where they need him to be able to match cover. They might need to have him run with Pitts at the seam a little bit. He's gonna be having a robot a little bit against Kirk Cousins' robotic ass running out of the pistol, and year 14 Peyton Manning his ass through the season. Darnell Mooney on Riley Moss will be. I mean, again, I'm just excited to get to see like this offense. It almost feels like is I mean, I said it probably the toughest matchup for Denver that they faced. No, that's wrong because they faced the Ravens. But like passing offense wise, I think it'll be the toughest matchup. Lamar Jackson obviously is a singular entity, but just based on how this Ravens passing attack is built, based on how they attack man coverage on later downs, based on the personnel they have in the receiving room that like is so interchangeable and is so effective, and like they're kind of a receiving room like you always hear talked about, like you want to build a receiver room like a basketball team where you want to have guys that kind of are built different ways, that win in different ways. They are the epitome of that. A guy like Drake London, who is just a big ass bruiser, but can also move crazy and does all the dirty work. Darnell Mooney is just this slippery ass deep threat who can also do like a little bit of stuff over the middle. And then you've got Kyle Pitts, who's just kind of a unicorn, and Bijan Robinson, who's also kind of a unicorn. Like it is an offense that is going to be a tall task for Denver to deal with. And I'm very interested to see how Vance Joseph comes about it because again, there's just like, I don't know if they'll be able to lean on the man coverage as much as they'd like to this week, but we've also seen Vance, like when he has to, he can really knuckleball pitch a game. And I almost wonder if that'll be the case this week, where we'll see him kind of lean into more of that, the sim pressure world where he's only sending 4. He's not sending too much extra heat, but they're dropping so much more into zone. Right. Let's have these hot droppers take away this stuff over the middle of the field. I think with their 4-man front, they will be able to get pressure, especially if you have Benito lining up over Caleb McGarry on the right side. Like I think that 4-man front will be able to get pressure, especially when it's Vance Joseph and he can get a 1v1 at will. That's what I'm excited to keep an eye out for. Like, how does Vance approach this matchup? Does he just kind of keep throwing his fastball and just say, we're just going to blitz and play man coverage and I trust our guys to handle it? Or is he going to knuckleball pitch it like we've seen him do a couple times this season? And I personally really like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point to bring up. I really think this is going to be one of those games where it's just offensive fireworks from both sides.
Will they make the playoffs, Robbie? Ooh.
They have to. They quite literally have to. Everything is falling in their way.
Like, it's kind of great. Like, I mean, we'll have to figure out what we're doing for the bye week, but like this is the 7th last full field read of the season.
Yeah.
Or 8th last numbers. But like that's like crazy to think about, you know? Like this year has gone so fast, and it's like I really got sad today thinking like, man, like I haven't had a Broncos season that, like, not to sound horrible, but I haven't been like, when are we getting to the fucking draft already, you know? But like this is really the first year where I'm like, I don't want this year to end, especially when we talk about the Bo Nix upward slope has been so fun that I just want there to be 30 weeks of this season and Denver to stay healthy the entire time and us to keep watching our young quarterback hopefully become a savior.
I agree.
But anything else to add in this episode? We've been going for 90 minutes. I'm, sure people got to enjoy their Friday nights even more if possible than they already are.
Right. I just really hope that we see more of this, like you said, the upward slope of Bo Nix's rookie season, because it's been so damn fun to watch, even the downs, all of it, coming on here every Friday and going over it, whether it's a 4-interception game or a 4-touchdown game. It's been so exciting, and there's nothing more fun, in my opinion, than watching a rookie quarterback on your favorite team.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We got 122 viewers. It's absolutely fantastic. Check my stuff out on Twitter and Blue Sky now. Yeah, that's right. We're throwing different stuff at you people. I don't know. But Frankie's film on both things. Let's Talk Broncos on YouTube. Robbie, can they find your stuff at?
You can find my stuff over on Twitter at Robbie_NFL. You can find a lot of my work over on the Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel, which you all should be subscribed to. If you're not, please hit subscribe. We do Full Field Read every Friday, going over the live tape after hopefully, always a Broncos win, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. But again, Robbie_NFL over on Twitter and Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Everybody have a great rest of your Friday night. Go Broncos. Let's beat the Falcons on Sunday. Yeah.